Hello everyone, my name is Godfrey Devaputra, working as Associate Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. In this series of lectures, we've been dealing with a subject called as Operations Management with the subject code of 18ME56. And today, let me start with the module number 3, which is Aggregate Planning and Master Scheduling. Often when we are speaking about business organizations, forecasting the demand, which is subject to seasonal variations, which is not predictable, plays a vital role in planning for all the activities that are essential in order to fulfill the demands. For example, in products such as air conditions or fuel or police or any of the kind of utilities or even in terms of traveling, what happens is in all of these various domains, the demand is always subject to the seasonal variations. Often organizations cannot perfectly or exactly quantify the timing of the demand. So therefore, it becomes, if an organization is not able to forecast the demand accurately, they will not be able to plan to satisfy the demand. So therefore, what happens is we need to use various methods which can approximately tell us that this is the probable requirement of a particular product that may arise in due course of time. Now, when I say due course of time, the planning horizon is basically divided into 3 different levels. Even before we try to understand what is the meaning of aggregate planning, we will first, it is essential for us to understand what are the characteristics of the planning levels that we have. We have broadly classified the planning levels as long, intermediate and short-term plans. Now, when I say long-term plans, the characteristics of long-term plan is that most fundamentally it is not subject to change within a short period of time. So for example, if I am speaking about the capacity, the magnitude with which we want to invest on a particular business organization, that becomes the capacity. So capacity more or less is going to remain the same for a substantial period of time. Now the second one is location. As and when you feel like changing the location, you will not be able to do so. For example, if you establish a movie theater in a particular location, it is not easy for you to shift it to another place. So therefore, what happens is location becomes a long-term plan. Third one is the layout, the seating arrangement in a movie theater, the screen, the size of the screen, etc., etc. All of these things becomes the layout. So this is also not changeable. Product design and work system design are also similar to the above mentioned items, wherein this is not subject to change in short period of time. So therefore, when I'm speaking about long range planning level, here what happens is it is going to remain the same for a very larger period of time. The next one is something which is called as intermediate planning levels. This planning range most of the times ranges from a couple of months to a year or 18 months or so, wherein the general levels of employment, output, finished goods, inventories, subcontracting and back ordering, they are all the characteristics. These are all the parameters which are likely to be affected when I'm speaking about intermediate planning range. So here in the intermediate planning range, ranging from a couple of months to over a year or so, you can always decide the employment, and employment can be changed depending upon the demand. Say for example, if you have more demand, you can always hire more people. If you have less demand, you can obviously lay off a number of people, and the output is also subject to change over this particular period of time. So say for example, if the demand is more, obviously you have to increase the output. If the demand is less, you have to decrease the output. So some of the times what happens is, in cases in industries such as pharmaceutical industries, inventories plays a vital role, and the shelf life of the pharmaceutical goods is very less. So therefore what happens is, here the finished goods inventories also, it cannot be more than a few months. Subcontracting is one of the parameters which comes in the intermediate range, wherein, for example, if a particular organization by itself is overloaded in terms of utilization of its capacity, it may become essential or necessary for that particular organization to outsource a few processes or products to another smaller company which otherwise will assist. So that particular process is what is called as subcontracting. Elaboration regarding subcontracting we'll do it later on. Back ordering is something which is unfulfilled demands which now we are capable of fulfilling. So these are some of the characteristics which play under intermediate roles. So as you can see here, the intermediate planning ranges from a couple of months to over a year. Whereas when I'm speaking about short range planning level, this is in essence on a daily basis or at the maximum to a weekly basis. It cannot be more than a weekly basis. So any planning level that happens in an organization which falls under a daily basis or at the maximum to a weekly basis is what is called as short-term planning. That means to say, in this particular short-term planning, the execution of a particular task, each and every single task that is essential to make a product or to deliver a service are to be given. So for example, here details such as machine loading and all the details, technical details with respect to that, job assignments, job sequencing, product lot size, order quantities, work schedules, all of these things are to be planned on a weekly basis at the maximum. Okay, it starts with the daily. Most of the organizations, they tend to do this particular short-term planning on a weekly basis. In some of the organizations which manufactures on a daily basis, they have a variety of products, they do it on a daily basis. Machine loading with respect to timing, with respect to what number of machines, etc., details such as this has to be given on a daily basis. Job assignments, which worker is supposed to do which job, this kind of information is supposed to be given in the form of job assignments. When I'm speaking about a number of jobs which has to be processed on a number of machines, so we're going to deal with something it's called as sequencing. Again, sequencing is also with respect to the completion of a particular job, and job completion does not usually take more than a week. Product lot size, if there is a shift, if there is a lot which needs to be fulfilled in the form of the demand, that size of the lot, depending upon various parameters such as capacity of the production firm, the other resources, depending upon the input material, etc. This lot size has to be decided prior to beginning of a particular task. So therefore, when once a particular lot size is accomplished, we can always go for another product. Order quantities and work schedules are also similar to that. So here the planning levels range from long range, intermediate and short range. Long range usually over a couple of years. It can last up to 5 years, 10 years or something like that. Intermediate planning range starts with a couple of months and it can go up to 1.5 years. Short term is at the maximum on to a weekly basis, starting from a daily basis. So when I'm speaking about the planning levels, here in order to understand how effectively we can satisfy the demand which is subject to seasonal variations, which otherwise is not predictable. Most of the times we have already come across something which is called as the forecasting, wherein we dealt with the time series forecast, wherein the forecasting of a particular product was dependent upon a number of parameters. Random variations, seasonal fluctuations, cyclic variations, such as this. We had so many different parameters depending upon which forecast for a particular commodity used to vary. So therefore, when I'm speaking about forecasting, it is an absolutely essential calculation that needs to be done in order for the planning of trying to fulfill that particular forecast of a particular commodity needs to happen. So therefore, aggregate planning falls under the range of intermediate planning levels, wherein most fundamentally what happens is aggregation of a number of commodities, aggregation of a number of activities that needs to be accomplished in order to oversee fulfillment of the demand. So see, aggregate planning roughly falls under intermediate planning level, and the master scheduling roughly falls under the short-term planning level. Elaboration of these things a bit later on. Now, when I'm speaking about long range, intermediate range, and short range planning, I'm fundamentally speaking about something called as business plan. So therefore, now when I'm speaking about a business plan, any organization, be it regardless of the magnitude of the business, if the end or if the vision of that particular, or if the motive of starting up that particular business venture, if it is not known, if it is not clear, then there is absolutely no point in taking on the business. So therefore, you need to have a business plan which basically establishes operations and capacity strategies. See here, there are two words, like which you already dealt with a number of times. Operations, set of activities that needs to be accomplished in order to oversee an end or an outcome. Capacity is the magnitude that we are speaking about. So, if in order to establish operations and capacity strategies, so a business plan needs inputs from the corporate strategies and policies. This is most of the times done by the top management, wherein they are going to lay down strategies and policies, okay, which are in essence to be achieved at the end. This is what we need to achieve. So business plan, when we are trying to make a business plan, this is also affected by the economic conditions, the competitions that we have, and the political conditions. So depending upon all of these things, the business plan is likely to change. Keeping in mind that there are always corporate strategies and policies that is already available, there is a vision available, there is a motive available here, there is the very purpose of opening this particular business organization lays here, and this is affected by the economic conditions, the competitions, and the political conditions that we have, and then it is also affected by the forecast that we have. For example, an outdated product, if it is forecasted to be zero, and if you are trying to open up a business plan by using these strategies, there is no scope for that business to fulfill its very purpose. So what happens is, so the forecasting, so when we're trying to make a business plan, that is also affected by aggregate demand forecasts. So once we have a business plan, which now by considering the corporate strategies and policies, economic conditions, competitions and political conditions, and the forecasts, now when there is a business plan, this business plan is expected to establish operations and capacity strategies. Once this is done, again, when I'm speaking about business plan, this falls under the long range plan. So wherein the decisions pertaining to location, long-term capacity, layout, product design, etc., all of these things are established here. Once this is done, we do something which is called as aggregate planning. Aggregate planning, again, as I've told you, it falls under the category of intermediate range, wherein it is supposed to establish operations strategy. Next, once aggregate planning is done, which is already, as I've already told you, it ranges from a couple of months to one and a half a year. So once this is done, daily plan or weekly plan in the form of master scheduling needs to be done, which has to establish the schedules for specific products. So it is specific end products that is kept in mind when we are speaking when we are making a master schedule. And master schedule is that when executed, that is where we realize the output of all the planning that is done. As I was basically telling you, business plan is in essence that which comprises of long-term, intermediate and the short-term planning. Business plan is supposed to establish guidelines for the organization, taking into account the organization strategies and policies. As I've told you, it is supposed to consider the forecasts, and it is supposed to also take the consideration of competitions that arises. So therefore, in essence, assuming that a proper business plan for a long range has already been given, now in essence, with respect to the constraint of the module, we are supposed to understand what is the meaning of aggregate planning. Aggregate planning basically falls under the range of intermediate planning range. Here, aggregate planning is basically, in a simplest way, it is deciding the ways and means of utilizing the available resources to produce the output in order to meet the likely demand. Now, most of the times for most of the commodities, the demand is usually laid out for at least a quarter in the minimum of context, quarter of a year. So, when I am speaking about a period of 3 months to 6 months, half a year, what happens is this is already in the form of a couple of months to 1.5 year. It is falling under that particular category. So therefore, in this aggregate planning, the demand, if it is already known and if it is dependable, and what I mean to say, if the forecast is dependable and if the forecast is done properly, and if the demand is more or less assured, then aggregate planning is now to meet, aggregate planning's main objective is to meet this gross demand that is laid out for a period of maybe 3 months to 1.5 year. So therefore, in order to meet that gross demand, so aggregate planning is simply put in the form of deciding the ways and means of utilizing the resources to produce the output to meet that particular demand. Whereas scheduling, the difference between scheduling and aggregate planning is that this demand is the gross demand that is for a period of 3 months to 1.5 year. So therefore, aggregate planning is done for that particular period, so meet the gross demand. So whereas scheduling is breaking down this demand into daily basis or weekly basis and planning all of the activities that needs to be accomplished in order to fulfill this particular demand, which is already broken down on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So therefore, this is a gross plan, this is the minute plan that needs to be executed on a daily basis. When I am speaking about aggregate planning, without having objectives, we are not supposed to do anything. So therefore, the fundamental objective that we have for aggregate planning is basically to balance the demand against the capacity. Now, if the demand is very much more and if the capacity is not enough to fulfill that particular demand, so therefore there is an imbalance. Say for example, if there is a educational system which is having seating capacity, gross seating capacity of 2000, and if the number of admissions that take place in an academic year, it exceeds 2000, so that means to say, this is a simple example which I am giving you, which says that there is an imbalance between the capacity and the demand. So the fundamental first most important objective of aggregate planning is to balance the demand against the capacity. If the demand is more, if the capacity is less, then the information regarding the lack of capacity must be given to the business plan, that is the top management. So therefore, they can then take a decision regarding expansion. If the capacity is more and if the demand is less, again that same information has to be brought to the notice of the top management, so therefore they can take an appropriate decision. Second most important objective of aggregate planning is to provide overall levels of output, inventory and backlogs as per the forecasting and business plan. So when I mean to say overall levels of output is given in terms of the gross demand. So as against the gross demand, what is the overall levels of output that needs to be achieved? So, and if this gross demand can be fulfilled by taking the already stacked up number of items, so that means to say if there is inventory available, so usage of this particular inventory also becomes an objective of aggregate planning. As well, backlogs, that means to say order which is not fulfilled in the previous periods, if that can be fulfilled in a particular period, so that means to say backlogs are also taken care. So the levels of output, the available inventory and the available order which is not fulfilled yet, to take care of all of these things is the second most important objective of aggregate planning. Next one, to test the feasibility of forecasting with respect to capacity. That means to say, forecasting is a technique which we already dealt with, wherein which we basically use in order to use the available historical data and to predict what is the future likely to be. So therefore, we need to check the feasibility of this particular forecasting with respect to the capacity utilization. So when I mean to say capacity utilization, Uh, this is synonymous to, like this is almost there here in the first objective, wherein there is certain amount of imbalance if it is there with respect to demand and the capacity, that needs to be taken care by the aggregate planning. So similarly, if there is a deficiency with respect to the forecasting and the capacity utilization which is proposed in terms of the forecasting value, so that means to say there is certain amount of deficiency available there also. So therefore, to test the feasibility of the forecasting technique itself becomes the objective of aggregate planning. Next one, to provide secure and stable employment. When I mean to say to provide secure and stable employment to the employers, what happens is, if the business plan as well as the following the aggregate plan, if it is done by considering all the parameters and if it is done accurately, so there are no uncertainties in terms of plan. So therefore, when we do not have an uncertainty, what happens is most of the times we can end up giving a very secure and stable environment to the employers. Next most important objective of aggregate planning is to take care of the market fluctuations. These market fluctuations may arise because of the technological advancements, because of competitions, because of takeover, because of layoffs, because of number of parameters. So these fluctuations in terms of, when I mean to say fluctuations, it is the fluctuations in the demand. These fluctuations in the demand may happen because of a number of reasons, as I have already mentioned. So therefore, aggregate planning should be capable of taking care of these market fluctuations which is likely to arise in due course of time. Last most important objective that we have is to optimize the various strategies. So when I mean to say various strategies, when we are dealing with aggregate planning, in order to do this planning, there are a number of strategies which we're going to deal with later on. So when we have a number of strategies to choose from, a business enterprise chooses a particular strategy and it or combination of a few strategies, and when it does that, the outcome of those chosen strategies must be optimized, and in order to optimize the outcome of the chosen strategies becomes the last most important objective of aggregate planning. So as I was telling you, the last most important objective that we have of aggregate planning is to optimize the use of various strategies. When I mean to say strategies, aggregate planning strategies are classified under two categories. One is called as the three pure strategies, the second one is called as the other pure strategies. Now, when I mean to say pure strategies, they are internal to the organizations. So that means to say here, when I'm speaking about three pure strategies, these strategies comprise of modifying the utilization of the resources in-house. So that means to say whatever that is available, by modifying their utilization, we can have a number of strategies. So the other pure strategies are external to the organizations. So that means to say wherein the organization itself does not have any control. So such of those strategies, to give you example of the other pure strategies, say for example, if a particular business organization is dependent on a subcontractor to provide a certain set of items, so that means to say how much to utilize or how much to get from that subcontractor, again, is a strategy that needs to be decided upon. So therefore, when I'm speaking about taking decisions which are not in-house but external to the organizations, so such of those strategies are called as pure strategies. So the first of the three pure strategies that we have is called as vary the size of the workforce. So that means to say, depending upon the fluctuations of the demand, depending upon the requirement, depending upon the necessity, we can hire and hire the people depending upon the lack of demand, whatever it is. We can also lay off the people. So that means to say, hiring and layoff are the basic characteristics of this particular first pure strategy, that is called as vary the size of the workforce. Here it varies the number of employees depending upon the demand, and the output is controlled by hiring and layoff. So here characteristics of this particular strategy has a number of advantages, and it also gives you a lot of disadvantages also. That means to say, first most importantly, it is most economical. So that means to say, when I'm speaking about
the remuneration that needs to be paid to all of these employees, that can be controlled by hiring and laying off the people. So we don't have to deal with all of those extra costs that otherwise may incur because of having employees which are not required. Second most important advantage that we have is when an employee is aware that he is likely to be removed if the demand is lesser, he is likely to work more. So that means to say an organization can extract more work from an employee because employee is trying to retain his job. So this particular strategy has application wherever we are speaking about daily labor activity, wherein we basically have employment on a daily basis. So in all of those cases, we have this strategy being used even today. Incense stick industries, irrigation field, and all this irrigation this thing, incense stick, and all these different varieties of activities wherein daily, on a daily basis, the demand is varying, this particular strategy is used. Also, obviously, when we have this particular strategy being used, we are likely to have a number of disadvantages also. The first most important disadvantage is that when there is a requirement for a skilled labor, he may not be available. So that means to say, since we are not holding on to all of the employees, when we need a particular kind of an employee, he may not be available. So that is the first most important main disadvantage that we have. The second one is that hiring costs, laying off also costs. So that means to say, since you are now using this particular strategy where you are hiring a number of people, laying off a number of people depending upon the fluctuations of the demand, the costs associated with the hiring and laying off, they're also going to be more. Next most important disadvantage that we have with this strategy is that since there is good amount of job insecurity for an employee, his morale is always likely to be less. Even though he is trying to work more and more efficient, what happens is most of the times it may so happen that we may bring down his morale. The other one is when we have this kind of uncertain situation for an employee from an employee's perspective, the community reactions are also going to be unhealthy. It is not going to be pro this strategy. That means to say, as a community, they may not be pleased with this particular strategy. Even though we have a number of advantages for the business enterprise, number of disadvantages for an employee, this strategy is still widely used in our country. The second most important pure strategy that we have is varying the number of working hours. This is quite an improvement from the first strategy, wherein since here we are varying the number of working hours, that means to say there is a possibility of maintaining constant workforce. We can maintain constant workforce, but their utilization can always be varied. So all the disadvantages that we saw from an employee's perspective when we are speaking about the strategy number 1 are taken care because we have constant workforce. There is good amount of job security. So therefore, employee is going to be morally in a rather good position when a particular business organization is using this strategy. By virtue of varying the number of working hours, that means to say overtime and idle time come into picture. Overtime costs slightly more than the regular cost. Idle time, it gives a very major disadvantage is that idle mind is devil's workshop. So therefore, when employees are left unused or left to be idle, they are likely to do more harm than good to a business organization. So therefore, as is said, like idle time has its own disadvantages in terms of the negative contribution from an employee in terms of a number of oral talks or whatever it is. The other one is when the employees are idle, at the same time machines are also likely to be idle. So therefore, machine downtime or machine idle time is going to cost the business organization. So as a characteristics of this particular strategy, it allows overtime. Overtime is going to cost more than the regular time. Idle time is going to cost the organization in a number of qualitative aspects. But the thing is, since we have the constant workforce, the community reaction is likely to be good, and and worker employee morale is also likely to be more. What happens when a particular business organization is using this second strategy is that the workforce is intensely utilized during some months and underutilized during several others. So this particular strategy is used in all of the industries which manufacture seasonal products such as umbrellas, crackers, sweaters, etc., hotels and tourism, etc. As you can see from the applications itself, neither umbrellas nor crackers nor the rest of the things are in full demand throughout the year. They are in peak demand or the height of the demand during certain duration of time in a year, and in most of the years it is likely to be less. So this is what is called as the strategy number 2, which is called as varying the number of working hours. The third most important pure strategy, again when I am speaking about pure strategy, these are all internal to the organizations. So here varying the inventory levels is the strategy that we have, the third strategy that we have. Here when I mean to say inventory levels, obviously inventory is building up or stocking up more than that is required. So that means to say here we can always have constant workforce which are producing the products constantly throughout the year. So that means to say the rate of production is also constant, the workforce is also constant. So what is one of the most important characteristics we have here is that when we have inventory that is built up which is now capable of taking care of all kind of demand fluctuations that is likely to happen. At the same time, if there is a better product which is given by a competitor, what happens is this whole of this inventory is now in risk. This inventory that is built up that may never get consumed because of a product which is more superior than the product which a particular business organization is making. So here, although there are a number of disadvantages to the business organization, one of which is when we have a larger inventory, the inventory carrying cost is also likely to be more. So when we have inventory cost, that adds to the total cost. So the cost that is incurred for a business enterprise becomes more. So that means to say when they are building up the inventory levels, how much of inventory level that needs to be built up, that particular value has to be accurate. And it has to take into consideration all different kinds of variations that is likely to happen. All the industries that make tangible goods apply this particular strategy which is called as varying the inventory levels.